Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we are going to take a look at the war between the Quagoa and the Dwarfs of the Silesian Mountains and what critical role Ainz played in this battle. But before we're going to do so, let me thank my Patreons for supporting this channel. Also thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. And with that said, let's dive into the goals the two opposing sides had. The Quagoan tribes, now united under Periuru, had two interconnected war goals. The main objective was the securement of all of the rare metals and ores in the Silesian Mountains for themselves. Because the rarer and stronger the metals are that the Quagoan young are fed, the stronger and more powerful the Quagoan young grow up to be. This was nicely illustrated when the red-furred Quagoa was able to slice the bridge the Death Knights and he himself stood on with just one hit, after the many other fleeing Quagoas failed to cut the bridge down in time. The different look of the Quagoa red fur is also a visual indication that he had consumed a rarer ore in his youth than the other normal-colored Quagoan. This also meant that the war was seen as something existential for the Quagoa. They needed as many ores as they could get for the sake of their children, their family, and their clan. This ties into the secondary goal of the Quagoa, for they wanted to eradicate the Dwarfs, once and for all. This also meant that they not only wanted to kill every man, woman and child in Feoyera, but also catch every fleeing soldier and civilian. Hence why they deployed another force to a possible flight corridor, where Chaltier caught them. This was done to ensure that no other Dwarven civilization could rise again in the Silesian Mountains, and therefore also claim some of the ores in the mountains as their own. Now the war goal of the Dwarfs can be explained pretty well with this meme. Current objective: survive. Without Ainz Ooal showing up in time, the Dwarfs would have been destroyed, and even if Ainz would have arrived late, the climax of the first battle would have taken place in the city itself, leading to many casualties. Now the secondary objective for the Dwarfs is to finally rid themselves of the threat the Quagoa pose, and to reclaim the lost cities of Feotaivas, Feoberkana and Feoraido as the tertiary goal. Feoberkana is the current headquarter of the Quagoan and the frost dragon that rules over them, as well as the lost capital city of the Dwarfs. Feotaivas was destroyed in dragon battle because two frost dragons had a go at another, in more than one way. And finally, Feoraido was abandoned due to safety concerns, because even back then, the Quagoa were able to gain more and more ground, thanks to them now being united. And now let's go to Ainz Ooal's own goals, because the Overlord was able and willing to save the Dwarfs, if he got three things out of it. Number 1, access to runecraft and runesmiths, who would go and live in his own kingdom. Secondly, he wanted to trade food, lumber and alcohol for ores and metals. And in the novels, he also provided skeletons as cheap rental labor, in order to ease the extraction process of the ores. So no longer the Dwarfs needed to labor in the mines, because they now instead would be supervising the skeletons, doing all of the hard, taxing and repetitive manual labor for them, which will also lead to a stark increase in ore production. And his third and final goal was international recognition, which as an undead king was something very hard to get. And this was also something that Ainz could present as a success to Demiurge and Albedo. Now to the conflict itself. After Chaltier had captured the Quagoa, the Dwarfs, retreating from Feoyera, their last remaining city, would have been able to do so again. So the commander, who defended the gate against the Quagoan horde, had now actually a valid option to flee left thanks to Ainz. And the gate itself was made out of stronger materials than most of the teeth and claws of the Quagoa. Therefore, it could withstand the onslaught, at least for a time. The lightning spells of the Dwarfs were also a way to hinder any advancing Quagoan troops to enter their position, still held by the Dwarven army at that point, and to interfere with the closing process of the gate. Now with that said, the Quagoan had turned into a great military force, instead of some tribal warrior bands they used to be, now united under Periuru, and they followed the command of him, and the other commanders for that matter, in order for rewards, in the form of rare ores, which are again vital for the development of their offspring. So therefore, they were willing to take on dangerous missions, like charging the front gate of the Dwarfs, despite the Dwarfs wielding lightning magic. And even when the Death Knights attacked, some of the more brave Quagoan tried a counterattack in the hope that their valor and their bravery would be rewarded with more ores. And remember, since they do all of this for their children, the Quagoan soldiers were literally willing and able to fight to the death, something that many of them actually did. This is also why the commander of the assault was willing to risk his own skin, because there were still witnesses around that could then later state to the commanders how dangerous the so-called golems were, and how heroic the red-furred Quagoan had fought them off, stopping basically a countercharge that would have otherwise destroyed much more of the army, all by himself. And currently Ainz Ooal is now leading the counter-strike against the Quagoan force and their dragon overlords, by himself. And now lastly, Ainz Ooal was only able to insert himself so well because the dwarves were in a absolute problematic and dire situation. Confronted with their certain death, they were unusually quick to accept the very reasonable proposition of the Sorcerer King, not because they disliked his ideas, plans and propositions. And Gondophaebit had put it best when he noticed how the dwarves didn't care about runecraft anymore. And by the way, please tell me I'm not the only one who cried during his speech. But anyway, the problems that the dwarves had were that they didn't trust a normal or life fating on death, especially not someone as powerful as him, for the dwarves correctly perceived how monstrously powerful Ainz Ooal truly is. But confronted with certain death, an undead protecting them was something preferable to them, hence why they reluctantly agreed to the pact with Ainz Ooal and his Sorcerer Kingdom. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Bad Guy, Bad Burrito 316, Beeze, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Duckwagon, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Phil Shivan, Guy with Dead Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Primus 11, Q, Nakea Cos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Staris, Tad, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm and Sonnegon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon under my next video.